This video continues to explore major key harmony. In this video we're going to look at one of the fundamental principles of jazz theory: dominant harmony. From now on, it'd be greatly useful for you to think of all dominant chords as being chord 5. Let's look at a simple chord sequence. In traditional harmonic amount analysis, you might be used to reading things like the following: 1, 3, 7, 6 minor, and 5, 7. In jazz theory, dominant harmony is very important and wide-reaching. So you could label all dominant chords as chord 5. To make this easier, learn the cycle of fourths off by heart. It will make everything much easier with dominant harmony. As you can see in the example here, the E7 becomes the 5-7 of A. So you have the chord 1, which is C major 7, and then we think of E7 as chord 5-7 of A, and it resolves to A. And then the G7 is 5-7 of C. Finding key centers. Most jazz standards will be written in a home or root key, especially those written as pop or show tunes. However, take this and the key signature with a pinch of salt. Many tunes will also modulate, sometimes several times, to another key. Recognizing the signs is fundamental to being able to master the harmony. 99% of the time, if you find a major 7, e.g. C major 7, it indicates a major tonal center. The 2 minor 7, 5 7, 1 major 7 sequence is one of the most important sequences in jazz theory. Understanding it and being able to identify it will give you access to hundreds of jazz tunes. That's because the 2 minor 7, 5 7, 1 major 7 sequence indicates a tonal center and will also tell us which key the tune is modulating towards, therefore providing us with the appropriate scale for the tonal center, allowing us to spell out the harmony. Key to this principle, sorry about the pun, is being able to identify the 2-5-1 sequences easily. Let's look at a sequence and remember that finding a major 7 will almost certainly give us a tonal center. First we need to find them. There are several major 7 chords. There's D major 7, C major 7, B flat major 7, and D major 7 again. Each of the major 7 chords are root, or 1 chords. Working backwards, let's see if there's a 2-5 relationship for each of them. As you can see for the D major 7, it's preceded by its chord 5, A7, and before that by its chord 2, or 2 minor, E minor 7. So it sounds like this. Which gives you a sense of dominant motion throughout the cadence. This works in a similar way for C major 7. And B flat. And obviously again for the D major 7. The 2 minor 7, 5 7, 1 major 7 sequence is also intrinsically linked to the cycle of fourths. Whenever you find a major 7, which is a 1 or a root chord, you can go back 2 steps in the cycle of fourths to find the related 2 and 5. This could be anywhere on the cycle. Look what happens if we move it. You can then use the table we looked at the end of last video to work out the chord quality that relates to it. Perhaps the best bit about finding a 2 minor 7, 5 7, 1 major 7 is that they all share a similar parent scale because they're all diatonic to each other. If you're confused by this, watch the previous video on modes and chords. Put more simply, you can play the major scale of 1 major 7 across the whole 2 5 1 major 7 sequence. So here it is in C major. They all share the same notes. And this works in each key. So here is F major. Often in tunes, the sequence of chords doesn't get to 1 major 7, but still indicates a tonal centre. This tune has several examples of this technique within the first 8 bars. Let's look at the first 6 bars. There's a number of 2-5 sequences, or 2 minor 7, 5 7 sequences, which fail to resolve to a 1 major 7. Let's look at the first 2 bars and check it against our cycle of fourths. And you can see that they come from C major, which means the tonal centre here is C. If we look at bars 3 and 4, which have a similar sequence but a different key, the tonal centre is from D major. Here, in bar 5, the tonal centre comes from G major. And bar 6, the tonal centre here comes from G flat. Extended tonal sequences. More often than not, these have dominant movement around the cycle of fourths, ending on a major 7 chord. A well-used example of this is 3 minor 7, 6 minor 7, 2 minor 7, 5 7, 1 major 7, as all of these chords are diatonic to the 1 major 7. Let's look at an example of this in a tune. Before we get going, there's a new chord quality in bars 1 and 9, a major 6 chord. I'll explain it. A major 6 is also a 1 chord, and functions exactly the same way as a 1 would. That means 6 replaces 7. We'll look at this further in the next video. That means both C6 chords here have the same function as C major 7. Let's look at the C6 in bar 9 and assume we've found a tonal centre, and we'll work back diatonically. We can use the cycle of fourths to help us, along with the table of diatonic chord qualities. And you can see that all of these chords, because they're diatonic, come from the same tonal centre. They're diatonic to the parent scale, which is C major. Whilst there's more chords than a standard 2-5-1, obviously, all of them are still part of the same tonal centre, C major, which means all of them share the same harmonic information or notes. In the next video, we'll be looking at guide tones.